I have brain tumors. Yep, that's how I'm choosing to start the video. So, a little recap before I get into that. Last few videos I made, I was in Nicaragua. I haven't made any since I've been back for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was simply too intense. It was just too much pressure. I got to the point where I realized like not filming them is making me feel guilty. Filming them is stressing me out. So I'm just going to stop doing them. I planned on making one final one to kind of explain this, but given everything that happened lately, I just didn't have the time. So I just didn't do it. And now here I am, and I just went through something really intense. And, I feel the need to do it. Not necessarily to share with other people, like, yes, if people can benefit from this, but more for my own sake, so that in the future, when I'm at the point where it's like, all right, I'm done with all this, I healed from all this, time to write the book, I'm going to be able to go back and rewatch this. So that's the reason why I'm doing this. Okay, so little summary of what happened since the last couple of videos. Got married, came back, started working again. Let's see, got super like stressed out and anxious and everything to the point where I'm like, I can't keep doing this. It's going to kill me. At which point I decided, all right, let's go on disability because I can't keep doing this. It's not good for my health. So began that process. It's still in process, just like everything else, just like immigration, just like that's just how life is. But I began the process, and hopefully it'll be resolved by next week. Everything will be good. But okay, so that's kind of what happened. So came back, um, sorry, got married, came back, started working again, got super stressed out, decided to go on disability, found an apartment after looking for an apartment for another couple of weeks, of course, and the stress that came from that. Moved in a couple of days ago. In fact, I'm filming this from my new apartment. And then within a couple of days of moving here, I started getting really, really intense migraines. And I didn't understand why because I never had migraines in my life before. It just didn't really make sense. So, called my pivot nurse, explained the situation, and she's like, oh, it's flu season. It might be just that. So, unless it gets more intense, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. So I kind of waited it out, tried a few different medications, nothing worked. Called my nurse back a couple times, nothing worked until it got to the point where about a week and a half after. One day I threw up like 8 times. The other morning after that, another 3 times. I'm just like, all right, I threw up 11 times in the last day and a half. This is not normal. This is not good. So I called her back one last time. She's like, yeah, okay, this is the point where you go to the emergency room, explain the situation. They'll be able to do some tests and they'll determine if there's anything wrong with you. So that's what I did. Got all packed up, went to the emergency room, and after like I don't know 9 hours of waiting, something like that, um, 9 hours of waiting during which they did a CT scan, and the results of the CT scan were that I have at least two masses in my head. They weren't sure exactly what it was. They're like, we need to do more tests to be safe or to know exactly what it is. But for now, it looks like two tumors. So, that was the part that really sucked because it reminded me of, 8 months ago when I first found out I had cancer and they were like, yeah, you're screwed. So that's kind of the impression that it gave me at the start. So, I processed, I cried, I spoke to my wife, she cried, she processed, we did everything we had to do. Um, and after that, the next few days, I was in the hospital a couple days. So the next few days were really like uncertain ups and downs and a lot of stuff like that. But the conclusion of everything, when I finally got the results, well, sort of got the results of the MRI, and I say sort of because I have a meeting um, with the team next week for them to give me all the information. But for now, I have enough information that I understand what to expect. So basically, this is what it is. I have two, at least, tumors in my head. I don't know the exact number, but it doesn't matter because they decided not to do open skull surgery, which is pretty cool. Although, that would have been a good story too. But yeah, I don't want to do that just for the heck of the story. So anyway, they decided not to do open head surgery. Oh, sorry, open skull surgery. Instead, they're going to use what's called radiotherapy, which is blasting. Well, I'm assuming, I don't have the full details. I'm just assuming it's blasting the tumors with really intense radio waves. And that's going to basically act like missiles and go in and destroy it locally without having to be too invasive. Aside from that, I mean, of course, that's going to cause swelling. So I'm going to have to keep taking anti-inflammatory medications for a couple weeks after that. I might have to stay in the hospital for a few days. I don't know how that works exactly. But the gist of it is this is the best case scenario because I don't need open skull surgery. I don't need like chemo of my whole head. They can just localize the spots they need to do. So it's like it's really the best case scenario. But it's still really intense when they're like, hey, you have tumors in your head. But at least that explains why I have migraines. I'm like, I've never had migraines. It doesn't make sense. Nothing that I'm trying is helping. What is wrong? So there was a certain degree of relief when I first found out because I'm like, okay, cool. At least now I know why. Now we can take care of it. And it just also makes me grateful because every time something like this happens, in the beginning, I started coughing. I got checked out, and I discovered I have stage 4 cancer in time to start treating it. Not cure it, but I don't. That doesn't matter. Like I believe that I will find a way to cure myself by alternative treatments or medical treatments, whatever it is. There's no doubt. There's no fear on that front from my part. And then once I decided to go on disability. I'm like, this is scary. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. And then, I did it. And, a couple of days after, this happens. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I understand why I did it. I'm really glad that I trusted myself. And then, once this happened, so once the headaches kicked in, then I'm like, okay, why this is weird. What does this mean? But it allowed me to get to the point where I got it checked out. And now we're going to be able to treat it. So every time something happens, my body is able to handle it in the sense that, it gives me the signals. As long as I listen to my body, I will be okay. I just can't ignore my body. And also, like, just something as small as, it only lasted a week and a half. But migraines are so debilitating and so intense that you forget, you kind of get used to it. And when it finally goes away, you're like, oh my God, that just feels so good. So, anyway, that has been my life for a couple of days, being in the hospital, going through all that. It's been really, really emotional, of course. And I don't know if you notice, I notice myself because, like, I've always been very, well, not always, but since I got cancer, I've been very thin. And now I'm just like, I look fat. Like, not really, but I mean, I can see it. And it's just because I've been in the hospital, like, I could finally start eating again healthily, normally. They were giving me like a bunch of intravenous, drugs and stuff like that. So it's just like I have all this water weight and everything, but it's just like, yeah, I look at myself and I see the difference. And this is just kind of like a slight visual representation of what I've been through. Like a very, very slight one, but still. And, the conclusion of this is I'm just really, really, really grateful to be alive and to be able to share this with you and to, you know, have so many amazing people in my life. So thank you for being here. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my family. Thank you for everything. I'm really, really grateful.